Most people imagine survival as a wilderness stunt or a prepper's fantasy, but in Canada, it is simply life. Here, nearly 10 million square kilometers of ice, forest and rock have forced generations to treat blizzards, power failures and weeks of isolation as ordinary reality. Forget what you know about prepping. True survival is encoded in Canadian habits you have probably never considered. Why is simple readiness in Canada considered extreme everywhere else? And what secret rules does this country follow that the rest of the world ignores? The answer begins with the land itself. Canada covers almost 10 million square kilometers, stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific and up to the Arctic Circle. Yet fewer than 40 million people live here, spread so thin that only 4 people occupy each square kilometer on average. This is the lowest population density among the G7 nations. The land itself is a fortress. The Canadian Shield, a sweep of ancient rock and forest, carves through the heart of the country. The Rocky Mountains wall off the west, and the Arctic tundra and the endless boreal forest form barriers that are as impassable as any man-made border. The distance between major cities is measured not in minutes or hours, but in hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. Toronto and Edmonton, for example, are separated by more than 2,700 kilometers of wild country. Distance shapes how people plan, where they put industry, and how communities survive. During the Second World War, Canada's remoteness became a hidden strength. Allied aircraft factories were built deep inland, shielded by forests and lakes. German bombers never reached Winnipeg, and U-boat saboteurs avoided the vast distances and empty roads. More than 15,000 planes rolled out of these inland plants untouched by enemy attacks. Geography protected not just industry, but the very idea of normal life. No foreign army has set foot on Canadian soil since the War of 1812. Not because of walls or weapons, but because the land itself refuses easy passage. In Canada, isolation is not a weakness, it is the first and most reliable line of defense, shaping every other survival instinct that follows. Bruce Zawalski, a wilderness instructor from Alberta, starts his winter days the same way every year, plugging in his truck's block heater before sunrise, checking his emergency kit and layering up for minus 40 degrees Celsius. On the Canadian prairies, this is not the behaviour of an outdoors fanatic. It is the baseline for anyone who expects to get to work on time. Temperatures of minus 40 degrees Celsius sweep through Saskatchewan and Manitoba each winter, cold enough to freeze exposed skin in minutes and to kill a car battery overnight. 80% of vehicles in Saskatchewan are wired for block heaters with cords dangling from grills in every parking lot. Battery insulation wraps and winter-grade fluids are as common as snow itself. Inside every car, drivers keep traction mats, tow straps, candles, energy bars, and folding shovels. These are not extras, they are as standard as a spare tyre. Provincial campaigns push safety reminders, but most people learn the essentials from family long before they take a driver's test. Children are taught to dress in layers: merino wool close to the skin, fleece or down in the middle, and a windproof shell on top. This is not just for hiking trips, it is for walking to school or waiting for the bus in January. What some Americans call extreme prepping, Canadians call getting ready for Tuesday. Winter readiness here is not a sign of paranoia. It's a quiet, practical habit, one that keeps engines running, families safe, and daily life moving no matter how hard the wind blows. Hydroelectric power runs through Canada's veins, producing more than 60% of the nation's electricity. In Quebec, that number climbs to 95%, with turbines spinning deep in the shielded north, far from the cities they light. But in the vast stretches beyond the grid, communities rely on their own solutions. Over 50 northern towns operate microgrids, systems designed to run independently when storms, wildfires, or technical failures cut them off from the main network. These microgrids can switch to island mode in minutes, keeping lights on and heat flowing even as the outside world goes dark. Every autumn supply plans take shape for the season ahead. More than 3,000 kilometers of temporary ice roads are built each winter, connecting remote communities while lakes and rivers freeze solid. Convoys haul fuel, food and building materials in a race against the spring thaw. For many places, these routes are the only lifeline, and when they close, residents turn to what they have stored, sometimes for weeks at a time. Water demands its own layer of planning. In regions under long-term boil water advisories, homes use freeze-resistant cisterns and gravity-fed backup systems to keep water flowing when pipes burst or power fails. Hand pumps and insulated storage tanks are standard, built to withstand temperatures that would shatter ordinary infrastructure. In the north, every system is engineered with a backup and then a backup for the backup. Redundancy is not a luxury here, it is a blueprint for survival. In Nunavut, the cost of a single bag of groceries can be 3 or 4 times higher than in southern Canada. A carton of milk might run $15, and fresh produce is often a luxury. For more than 100 communities scattered across the north in places with no permanent roads, planning is not about next week's shopping list. It is about making sure there is enough to last until the next plane lands, or the ice road opens, sometimes weeks or months from now. Food storage fills entire rooms, not just pantries. Freezers are packed with caribou, fish and seal, caught and preserved by families who know that hunting and fishing can provide up to half of the calories people need in these regions. Doctors in Nunavut issue prescriptions with a 3-month buffer, not as a precaution but as a necessity. Pharmacy shelves in Iqaluit and Rankin Inlet stock extra supplies, anticipating weather that can ground flights for days. As one Nunavut health official puts it, help is a plane away when the skies are clear. Medical evacuations sometimes wait for the next break in the weather, and residents keep extra medication on hand because running out is not an option. That same kind of foresight shapes every part of daily life. Hunting and fishing are not just traditions, they are essential survival strategies, especially when grocery shipments are delayed or shelves go bare. Self-reliance in the north is not a romantic ideal. It is a response to the reality that in more than 100 fly-in communities, every meal, every dose and every plan must account for the possibility that help may be days away. The rhythm of survival is set by the arrival of the next plane, the opening of the ice road and the knowledge that the land, not the clock, decides when supplies come through. Frostbite can set in within 10 minutes when wind chills drop below -30 degrees Celsius, and every year thin ice claims dozens of lives across Canada's lakes and rivers. In Churchill, Manitoba, polar bears are such a constant threat that residents leave their car doors unlocked. Anyone fleeing a bear needs a fast escape. These are not extreme measures, but protocols woven into daily life. The Canadian Rangers, a force of 5,000 mostly Indigenous volunteers, patrol 1.8 million square kilometres of the country's most remote regions. They carry out search and rescue, deliver supplies, and share knowledge that has kept communities alive for generations. When disaster strikes, they are often the first responders, sometimes the only ones. During the 1998 Quebec ice storm, power lines collapsed under the weight of freezing rain, plunging millions into darkness for weeks. Generator convoys rolled through the night, keeping hospitals running and neighbourhoods warm. Communities pooled fuel, food and information. And the crisis passed not through heroics, but through steady cooperation and patience. Isolation is never hypothetical. In August 2021, record rains triggered landslides that severed the Dempster Highway, the only overland link to Inuvik and the Beaufort Delta. For 17 days, over 5,000 residents relied on airlifts and what they had already stored. The mayor of Inuvik described the mood as calm and matter-of-fact. Neighbours checked on each other, shared fuel and waited for the road to reopen. No panic, no drama, just the quiet confidence of people who have practiced being cut off and who know that endurance is a communal skill. In Canada, survival is not about bravado. It is about respecting what can kill, trusting the systems and people around you, and carrying on together until the crisis passes. Canada's vastness and harsh climate demand a mindset shaped by constant adaptation, not just for remote communities, but for everyone facing a world of rising extremes. As weather grows less predictable everywhere, the true test is not surviving the environment, it is learning from those who already do. Your thoughts below.